So we're talking about the paradox of choice. So Kate, what are the three or four demos you say are essential and all you need for the type of work that you're doing?
For talent agents, for producers, generally speaking, commercial, narrative, also known as industrial, also known as corporate narration. Co-ed is what SAG-AFTRA calls it now. Corporate educational is what they're referring to. Promo, animation and games would be the fourth, perhaps. If you speak Spanish fluent, great, Spanish demo. Other than that, generally speaking, you don't need a zillion demos, except when it comes to pay to play, or if you're getting a bulk of your work from the internet, then you're going to have to go minutia and all that kind of stuff. You're feeding an algorithm for the most part, as I see it. But how do you see it?
Well, first of all, if you think that it's important to limit it to 3 or 4 demos, why? Like what's the purpose of keeping your demos tight to 3 or 4?
There's been quite a bit of survey done on this. There's been quite a bit of research done on this by both MIT and Harvard. And it comes from Dr. Barry Schwartz wrote a book called The Paralyzing Paradox of Choice from about 2005, 2006. And fascinating book anyway. And a lot of people try to disprove it. But the idea is that if you give a potential client more than 3 or 4 options, they just plain shut down. They don't choose anything. So ideally what you're giving them is this or this, 2 things. This is what I did to do, try that, and they're coming to you for a reason. They need your input. And so you better have a point of view for them specifically. So if you are in fact helping the client choose, make it easy for them instead of overwhelming them with too much.
Okay, so I buy that when it comes to buying strawberry jam. And if I'm walking into my grocery store, if I see 37 varieties of strawberry jam, it's going to be like, crap, I don't know which one I should buy, which one's best. And so I get it in the case of strawberry jam. I'm not so sure, though, I get it in the case of demos, because it's not as if you're choosing from equals like you are when you're choosing strawberry jam. Does that make sense?
I understand your point of view. I don't necessarily agree with that either, though. So it's like, because the truth is that if, typically what a client goes on is like, I'll know it when I see it. I'll know it when I see it. And I've surveyed that extensively for a couple of decades. I'll know it when I see it. So if you give them something that is within the realm of what they think they need and want, or what you think they need and want, then, you're kind of catering it to them. You feel that you have to make a customized demo. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm saying that particularly for those of us in the non-union world who are dealing, to a fair amount on the online casting sites and with smaller producers, that by coming up with more demos that are more niched, we're able to better target the demo to the prospective client. And
you don't feel that that's part of the SEO? You don't feel that you're feeding the algorithm with that? And by feeding the algorithm, what I'm talking about is like you're giving it so much content. It's the reason we know Facebook. It's the reason we know YouTube. It's the reason we know Amazon. It's because people are continually putting new content up there. So it drives the SEO. So people, whatever's the searchable, content.
There's something to be said. The more demos you have up on voices.com or voice123.com, the more opportunity you have to affix keywords to each of those demos. So if you only have 3 or 4 demos up, you only have so many keywords you're going to be able to feed into the beast. As compared to if you've got 10 demos up, then you've got, 3 times as much opportunity to be feeding keywords into the algorithms. So yes, it does help in the search functions on Voices and Voice 123. But that wasn't really the point I was trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that if there's someone with that's retail automotive as a good example, if I have a retail automotive demo, I'm far more likely to get chosen than if I just have one retail automotive segment in my general commercial demo, which they may or may not ever hear.
Well, if you have those keywords attached to your demo, you would, correct?
Yes and no.
Why not?
Because it has to do with how often the keywords are showing up in your profile as well. So if you have,
okay. And again, this is all about feeding the beast, as I see. It's feeding the internet, and again, you have to. It's connecting your name and your content with searchable terms. Correct?
Yeah. To be clear, though, it's only within the platforms. It's not as if doing this affects your SEO. At least to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't affect your SEO globally through a Google search, but it does affect your SEO within the Voice 123 platform. So if I've got 10 down, 8 of them have the word announcer or retail associated with them, then I'm going to rank comparatively higher for someone looking for retail. And that's specified that they're looking for announcer. Well,
and again, retail automotive is dealerships. It's not necessarily Ford. It's not GM. It's not. And do you believe you need a retail automotive demo?
Me personally, I don't have one because I don't do a lot of retail automotive. It's not really my thing. I've done, a reasonable amount of it in the past, but it's not one of those categories I go out in search of for a number of reasons. One is that it doesn't pay particularly well.
Right. And it doesn't suit you, right? It's not, it doesn't suit your.
It's not my thing.
So is this what you're referring to when you talk about, do you believe in creating custom demos or, for the internet?
I think that for those of us who are non-union and we're hanging out on the online casting sites, the more niched our demos can be, the more likely that someone's going to stumble across us when they're doing searches. And the more likely that if they're listening to 10 different demos or 50 different demos, and mine happens to be closer to the niche that they're looking for, that I stand a better chance of scoring that job. So I think that we can agree that the number of demos, which is optimal, sounds like it depends on your stage of progression in your career. Is that once you hit a certain point and you're at a certain level, then you probably only do need 3 or 4 demos. But for those of us who are down in the trenches in the non-union world and spending a lot of time on the internet casting sites, then there probably is a pretty good case for more demos that are niched a little more tightly.
Yeah. What would be a handful of niches that you are referring to? Like, what would be a niche that you might have done for yourself? Because I see you as a talent who have a salt and pepper voice. You use salt and pepper in a lot of different stews. You know what I mean? You use it in a lot of different things. And so a lot of different voiceover equations would require a voice like yours, Graeme. So
it's not unusual if you search out male talent on online casting sites that you'll find that they'll have like a guy next door demo, and they'll have one that's called Happy Dad demo, and they'll have one that's called retail automotive. And so that's what I mean by being niched. And really, the segments of demos are often the same, and they're just in different orders. So,
you know what I'd recommend for that, frankly, is if let's say you have a commercial demo and you have a narrative demo, and you take it and break it into pieces and just name it whatever the heck you feel is correct for the niche. And it doesn't even matter if it's correct or not. People aren't necessarily listening to that tiny little segment, whether it be 4 to 6 seconds long or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's really just, again, it's how it's marketed or how it's spun in a way, for lack of a better term. It's just how it's packaged, and put out there online.
Increasingly, I'm seeing that people on online casting sites aren't doing traditional demos with 6, 7, 8-second segments, and it ends up being a minute long. What they're doing is they're posting entire 30-second spots, but then naming them specifically to the genre, and perhaps having 15 or 20 of them, so that, again, those who are seeking voices are able to zero in on exactly the kind of read that it is that they're looking for.
Interesting. And I mean, like what you can actually do with that online. Yeah, I would just take that and carve it up. And this is what I've been telling people for like the last 3 or 4 years is just break it into pieces and call it something and throw it up there. Who cares?
I think we can agree in this particular case, and I don't give you this very often. In this particular case, we're both right.
Cool. Good. I'm happy that we are.